This video is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. What's up guys, Michael here. Don't freak out, but I want to talk to you today about reality dating shows and love. Now I know, they're fake, trashy, and probably bad for your brain. But what if we can learn something in the midst of these inane catfights over champagne bottles? The unbelievability, absurdity, and straight up tackiness of these shows has led many a spoilsport grown-up to declare reality TV dating shows a uniquely modern plague signaling the complete collapse of society. And honestly, we get it. But maybe in this producer-fabricated reality, there's actually nothing particularly modern or new going on. What if we told you that the very things we mock reality TV stars for doing on their respective dating shows stem from weird love standards invented by dreamy-eyed writers in the 18th and 19th century? And worse, what if we told you that you're probably just as guilty of it as this very unpleasant man? Welcome to this Wisecrack Edition on reality TV's lies about love, and spoilers ahead for your own love life. But before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to this week's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. A VPN is an invaluable tool to have, especially when you spend all your time online. Right now, I am using my credit card all over the internet, getting books, renting movies, and even purchasing groceries for pickup. It makes me nervous to input my info on so many different sites, but with a VPN, I know that I'm safe. While connected to a VPN, all of my information is encrypted, so my passwords and bank info are all protected from cyber attacks. Surfshark VPN lets me connect to servers all over the world and works on all my devices, so I'm safe even when I'm mobile shopping from the couch. Surfshark goes above and beyond the traditional VPN by offering additional security for any online habits. For example, blind search blocks targeted sites from appearing in your search results, and clean web blocks ads, trackers, and malware. It's great if you don't want any sites to collect your data and makes for the best online experience. If you use the link in the description right now, you can get Surfshark VPN for 85% off its normal price, plus 3 extra months for free. Go to surfshark.deal/wisecrack or hit the link in the description. Protect yourself online and download Surfshark VPN today. And now a quick caveat. There are tons of reality dating shows, but for our purposes, we're going to focus on a few culturally significant ones that seem to share a perspective on love. Specifically, The Bachelor/Bachelorette, Love is Blind, and the 90 Day Fiancé televisual universe. Now look, we know what you're thinking. Why even bother analyzing the way love is portrayed on reality TV when it's ever more apparent that tons of people are at least partially going on these shows in the hopes of scoring some profitable skincare sponsorship, or at the very least, to boost their Instagram following?
I have 310,000 followers right now. It goes up usually every single day.
Indeed, the inherent lust for fame that we see on most reality TV dating shows can't be denied. And those ulterior motives are a phenomenon in and of themselves. However, we and some scholars still think it's worthwhile looking at the kinds of romantic narratives that these actors/real people, who we will henceforth refer to as characters, choose to enact, and that their producers choose to, well, produce. Because even when it's fake or inauthentic, these characters are still parroting ideas about love that are, upon closer examination, rather curious, strange, and also quite ubiquitous. For those who are uninitiated in the trash fire of reality love, a quick overview. On The Bachelor and Bachelorette, one man or woman dates a giant pool of potential soulmates, eliminating contestants each week until they found the person they're apparently going to marry. On Love is Blind, a few dozen singles date in surreal pods without ever actually seeing one another and try to find love. Some get engaged and then try to see if they can successfully make it down the aisle. On the various 90 Day Fiancé shows, Americans struggle with their overseas relationships and see whether love can transcend continents, visa restrictions,
I'm sweating to death worrying about this visa now,
and lack of air conditioning.
I'm like hot, I'm sweaty. I'm starting to freak out a little bit.
So what could these clearly troubled 20-somethings lusting after each other possibly have to do with 18th and 19th century writers? To explain, we'll need to leap through a very brief history of love in Western civilization. As philosopher Simon May outlines in his book, Love, A History, there have been 4 major transformations in the way Western civilization defined love. The first occurred in biblical times and concerned the value of love. Basically, in this era, love became the supreme virtue because it specifically signified the bond between a human and God. Divine love was, at the time, all the rage. The second change began around the 4th century and concerned the power of love. In this framing, loving God could make you, yourself, divine. The third change began in the 11th century and was all about the object of love, i.e. the person being loved. Once exclusively reserved for God, divine love could now be bestowed upon a lowly human being, especially if they were hot. That brings us to the fourth change, which occurred in the 18th century, spurred in part by the contributions of philosopher and lover boy Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and later by other key figures of the Romanticism movement. This change was concerned with the lover who becomes authentic through love. From this perspective, romantically loving another person is what's really divine, and what's more, it's all but essential to developing your true nature. Ultimately, as May puts it, love comes to fall in love with itself. Now, probably we assume/hope that people loved each other before the Romantic writers put quill to paper. But at any rate, there wasn't the same intellectual framework around love. Loving another person in this era became divine. According to May, this era of romantic love is still alive and well today. In fact, he argues that the notion of love is a radical divine experience in which you discover your true self and become complete.
You complete me.
Has only become more salient over time, and for two reasons. First, religion has become less important, leaving a vacuum in the absence of divine love. Second, our society has become more individualistic and less explicitly hierarchical. We can choose our own romantic partners. For a little extra context, for most of history, marriage had more to do with property transfer and political alliances than it ever had to do with lusting over a person who likes the same books as you. Because we now have more freedom in the development of our personhood, love's ability to help us achieve that makes it seem ever more crucial. And this isn't without its problems. We're not trying to shit on your ideas of fairy tale romance, but, well, okay, maybe we are. As a result of hundreds of years of philosophizing about it, love now labors under the insane expectations that you should essentially feel about a relationship the way a devoutly religious person feels about their God. But hey, no pressure. You don't have to take May's word for it either. We all know that society rhapsodizes the crap out of romantic love and views a person's inability to find it as a pretty objective failure.
I'm gonna die alone.
But what did these smooch-happy writers like Rousseau think love could do for a person? According to May, there were two major motifs. First, that you can achieve personal authenticity, or the quest to become yourself and dedicating yourself to a loved one and in being loved. Second, the nobility of passion, and even sexual desire, as a great source of goodness and truth.
I wanna know every part of you.
So, TLDR, A, love makes you more authentically yourself, and B, your passion is divine. Now, to be clear, we've got no beef with Romanticism and its predecessors. It was indeed a profoundly important movement in affirming the importance of individuality, of honest emotional expression, and a host of other generally good, occasionally sublime things. The problem is, according to May, our views on love haven't evolved since Rousseau gushed about his crush, and that's made for a whole lot of achy, breaky hearts. But what does this all have to do with spending over $100,000 on a woman you met on a sketchy Ukrainian dating site? A lot, actually. In his book, May outlines many myths about love that have been propagated by this whole romantic love is divine idea. And upon inspection, we realized that reality TV is a masterclass in dumb ideas about love. So let's go through a few of May's myths. Myth number 1, love is unconditional. It is neither aroused nor diminished by the other's value or qualities. It is a spontaneous gift that seeks nothing for the giver. The notion of unconditional love is, according to May, the most salient and the most harmful of all love myths propagated in our society. And it is also, arguably, the one most reinforced by many dating shows. Unsurprisingly, some of the most horrible toxic people are really into this idea. On the show Before the 90 Days about Americans finding love abroad, one couple constantly screams about each other's manipulative behavior, drinking problems, and alleged physical assault.
She threw shoes at my head.
And yet they persisted, at least for a while. Why try to power through such unbecoming, occasionally dangerous behavior from your partner? Well, it's all in the name of working things out and honoring your true and pure love. Which, by the way, if any of these things sound like your own relationship, please don't. Or for another example, consider the guy who immediately breaks off his seemingly normal relationship with a woman he just met because, in his mind, if she truly loved him, she would know immediately and unconditionally that she wants to marry him after knowing him for a few weeks.
Maybe we are going too quick.
Similarly, other subjects who are almost definitely getting scammed and or catfished basically excuse a long series of red flags as just an obstacle in their fairy tale of unconditional love.
I know it'll just raise more red flags with my children. It's easy for them to think bad of Williams and think he's scamming me. but they don't know him like I know him.
Or take The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, where the titular character starts out dating over 24 people, all of whom are asked to repress their jealousy and their discomfort in the hopes of finding true love with the lead.
I'm not gonna do what Ben did to you last season. I'm not gonna fall in love with two girls. I'm gonna fall in love with you.
From the get-go, each contestant is agreeing to emotionally untenable circumstances, filled with constant jealousy and anxiety in exchange for maybe finding love and, yes, we know, being on TV. But things get even trickier near the end when we have 4 characters, all of whom typically seem genuinely invested in the lead, taking them to their hometowns. At this point, it is by now almost formulaically required for each contestant to verbally express their love, to the point where not doing so can literally get them sent home. What could be more unconditional than telling someone you love them in hopes of forging a monogamous marital relationship while they're dating 3 other people? This results in competitively lavish declarations and promises of forever love.
It's like there's nothing I ever wanted more. Just to look at you and like be here and wherever we are though. You know, we could be in a little apartment trying to argue about what the paint we're putting on the walls, you know, like I just want to be there.
And look, that is sweet as hell, but as my new love consultant May would put it, love, like everything human, is conditioned. You probably wouldn't still love your wife if she plays the trumpet every day at sunrise, or your boyfriend if he murdered your cat.
I have this crazy thought that I know is crazy, that maybe Dwight killed my cat.
On to myth 2. Love transports us beyond the messy imperfections of the everyday world into a superior state of purity and perfection. This is most literally propagated by the format of some of these shows, where contestants are swept away to sublime beaches, surreal modernist pods, and various beautiful locales all over the globe. This of course reinforces our notion of love as a fantasy, best enacted in fantasy locations. Then there's the insane requirements demanded of contestants. You need to drop everything in pursuit of love, oftentimes giving up your job in the process.
I've given up everything to be here.
Or if you're a man from San Diego looking for love in the Philippines, you might just liquidate your only retirement savings to make one big romantic play. But it's also embodied in the way contestants are depicted upon arrival. They're often posited as missing that special someone, i.e. a partner snoring next to them in bed.
I wanted to show you that I do have a heart on my finger.
Okay.
And it's open.
Okay.
And I hope that you'll be the guy to complete it.
Crazier things have happened.
Yes.
Of course, this hopeful lady's introduction has darker implications, that she is literally incomplete, not a fully formed person without romantic love in her life. Perhaps more troublingly, our aforementioned 90-day love searcher, Darcy, expresses hopes that
with Tom, I feel like he's going to take it upon himself to make me feel like a woman.
This of course necessarily implies that Darcy can't embrace or revel in her own womanhood without the express approval and assistance of a particular type of man. And on to myth 3, that love is our highest duty to ourselves. Promoting this belief is almost mandatory for any contestant on a reality TV dating show.
I'm tired, like being alone.
As previously mentioned, new characters are often introduced primarily by their lack or the flaw that has made them, until this point, unable to find a mate.
I deal in produce, but one thing I haven't produced yet is love.
This makes sense purely from a story perspective. Audiences care about characters with defined goals that they pursue. But here it suggests that this lack of romantic love overwhelms the good of personal accomplishment, supportive family, and so on. What's more, the competitive nature of some shows further reinforces the idea that love is an aspiration, a prize to be won for oneself.
I came here to win this. No girls are getting in my way.
This supports May's notion that the divinity of romantic love is inextricably tied up with the rise of individualization and self-determinism. You are in charge of your love life, and its failures are your failings, so you better win this goddamned contest. It also manifests in contestants swearing that they don't really fully exist without the object of their love.
I can't believe this has happened. I have to do all this alone afterwards now.
In keeping with one of May's earlier points, in this era of love, we focus so much on the lover and what they want and quote-unquote deserve, as to render the beloved almost an accessory. You get the sense that this woman could be crying over Pilot Pete or Colton or whoever the hell this is. The point is, what the men and women have really invested in is the idea of loving. Nowhere is this more apparent than when a catfish victim on Before the 90 Days talks about why he, for example, flew thousands of miles on several occasions for a girl that straight up ghosted him every time.
You tried to go on a cruise with her, and that didn't happen because of her medical reasons, right?
For him, he's invested thousands of hours and dollars into this relationship. Fittingly, the language of investment comes up a lot on this particular show. Or when a woman who is definitely getting catfished fondly recalls countless hours of texting and phone calls, even after it becomes pretty clear that her English boyfriend is probably a Nigerian scammer.
Someone who hacked his account must have got a hold of my address.
You gave away your address?
I'm still in love with him.
Now, even if all of the clips we've looked at were constructed by devilishly adept and manipulative producers, they still demonstrate something important: our socially endorsed philosophies about love taken to their logical extreme. But what's wrong with hanging on to a few sweet myths about romance? Well, according to May, the problem is this. When we view love as all of these magical things, we set ourselves up for disappointment. And upon being disappointed, our love easily lurches to the opposite extreme, bitterly resenting loved ones in whom so much hope had been invested and writing off love as brutal or impossible.
I do not believe in love.
And it's not just renouncing love, it's, well, this.
Are you in pain? No, I think I'm just having a panic attack.
We could keep going.
You're a user, Muhammad. You used me.
The reason things get so particularly dramatic and crazy is because, in this case, rejection is very, very public and expectations, i.e. lifelong love, are very high. Okay, but you might still be wondering, if it's a reality constructed by a SWAT team of editors, who really cares? Well, when reality TV couples parrot cliche ideas about love for the millions, it very quickly stops being about them and starts being about us. Why is that? Blame it on something called affect, or what scholar Misha Kavka calls the zone of potential emotions, or primordial soup of feelings that also serves as the cusp that brings the individual person into the collective psyche. According to Kafka, TV is a remarkably important purveyor of affect in today's society, a conjoining divider that connects us to those outside our immediate purview. When you emote even a little as Tyler's heart is broken, or as Darcy pursues love with hopeless vigor, the TV becomes a conduit of social affect for you. What's more, Kafka argues, the consequences of dating shows for our affect is particularly salient because as a work of reality TV, it is a constructed unmediation. That is, a lot of work goes into making it feel like a simulation of reality. And even though we know that this reality is mediated, the effect of seeing real people dating still both simulates as well as stimulates. What's more, Kafka argues, the choices that these characters have to make mirror the choices that we ourselves are forced to make in the dating world. In imitating while exaggerating the stakes of our own romantic lives, Kafka says, these shows bring to light aspects of love practices that are indeed conflictual and contradictory. That is, how are we supposed to find practical, lasting love in a world that's obsessed with both Tinder swiping and magical soulmates? So are we all destined to keep parroting myths about love? Is there any hope for us? Don't despair, May has a solution. He proposes embracing a new, different definition of love that is based on the feeling he calls ontological rootedness, or to feel at home in the world, to root our life in the here and now, to give our existence solidity and validity. And he argues that this is literally the only requirement for lasting love. If ontological rootedness is your only expectation, May argues, you'll be much better equipped to pick a partner who you can actually sustain a relationship with. And you'll be able to do so with significantly less pain as compared to the fairy tale and butterflies framework laundered through media.
Seeing her there on the, with that dress, it was just like seeing a prince, like a fairy tale.
In other words, as May puts it, find someone who makes you feel groundedness, rootedness, at homeness. I know, easier said than done. But what do you guys think? Do reality shows perpetuate harmful myths about love that make us all crazy, or are we overthinking ourselves to death in semi-quarantine again? Let us know what you think in the comments. Big thanks to our amazing patrons. Hit that subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching. Later.